Commander Lisa Bell straightened her uniform as she stood at the entrance of the grand meeting hall on the space station Harmonia. This was humanity's first time attending the Galactic Trade Summit, and she was determined to make a good impression. The exploration vessel Earthrise had been chosen to represent Earth, and Lisa felt the weight of that responsibility on her shoulders. "You look nervous," said Dr. Alan Morris, the ship's xenobiologist, as he joined her. His kind eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "I'm not nervous," Lisa replied, though she was. "I'm just making sure we don't mess this up. We've only been part of the galactic community for 8 months." The space station Harmonia hung like a giant metal snowflake in neutral territory between the major galactic powers. Its meeting halls were designed to accommodate beings from 27 different spacefaring civilizations, with various atmosphere chambers, gravity settings, and temperature controls. "Chef Peters is still worried about the reception dinner," Alan said. "He's been in the kitchen all day." Lisa smiled. "Kevin always worries too much. His food is amazing." They watched as alien delegates passed by, some with too many eyes, others with scales or feathers, a few that seemed to float rather than walk. The galaxy was full of life, and humans were the newcomers. Inside the kitchen, Chef Kevin Peters was indeed worried. He had studied alien cuisine for months, but this was his first time cooking for so many different species. Most of his fancy dishes were ready, but he had also prepared some human comfort foods as appetizers. His grandmother's potato chips recipe with a special cheese dip on the side. "You're sure these are appropriate?" Kevin asked Ambassador Zortak, who stood nearby. The tall reptilian diplomat from the Vesprian Confederation had been Earth's first alien ally and helped arrange their invitation to the summit. Zortak's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "Most species will not be able to digest your main dishes, but they will appreciate the artistic presentation. These small items might be sampled out of curiosity. Do not worry, Chef Peters." Kevin wasn't convinced, but it was too late to change the menu now. He arranged the golden brown potato chips in spiraling patterns on large platters and placed bowls of bright orange cheese dip in the center of each. At least they looked nice. When the reception began, Lisa and Alan mingled carefully with the alien delegates. Some were friendly, others distant. Many seemed merely curious about the humans, the newest members of the galactic community. "Your species has developed quite quickly," said Merchant Guild leader Krexval, a short, furry being with large eyes. "From primitive rockets to faster-than-light travel in less than 2 centuries. Impressive." "We're fast learners," Lisa said, smiling diplomatically. Servers began circulating with trays of food. Kevin's appetizers were among them, the simple potato chips and cheese dip sitting among exotic alien delicacies that changed colors or floated above their plates. Lisa held her breath as the first alien, a tall, slender being with silvery skin, picked up a potato chip. It examined the chip carefully, then dipped it in the cheese and put it in its mouth. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alien's eyes widened and began to glow with a faint blue light. "This is the alien," said its translator, struggling to find the right words. "Extraordinary." Across the room, a similar scene was playing out with other delegates. A group of gas-filled beings bobbed excitedly after tasting the chips. A 4-armed diplomat was grabbing handfuls and stuffing them into what appeared to be its mouth. "Ambassador." Zortak approached a tray and, after watching the others, took a chip and dipped it generously in the cheese. He ate it slowly, thoughtfully. Then his scales began to shimmer with an iridescent light. "Commander Bell," he said, his voice different, deeper, more resonant. "I can sense your thoughts. This has never happened before." Lisa was startled. "You're telepathic now?" "Temporarily, it seems," Zortak said, looking at the remaining chips with wonder. "What do you call this food?" "Just potato chips and cheese dip," Kevin said, appearing beside them. He looked confused at the commotion his simple appetizers were causing. Within an hour, the reception had transformed. Aliens crowded around the chip trays, some experiencing strange and wonderful effects. The blue-skinned Moravians claimed their math skills improved. The squid-like Pulsarians said their tentacles became more sensitive to electrical currents. And the Vesprians, like Zortak, gained temporary telepathic abilities. Dr. Morris was frantically taking notes and gathering samples. "This is unprecedented," he told Lisa. "Something in these simple foods is interacting with alien biology in ways we never predicted." By the end of the reception, word had spread throughout the station. Kevin's kitchen was besieged with requests for more chips and dip. Alien diplomats were offering trade deals, technology exchanges, even star systems for the recipes. Lisa found herself cornered by a group of alien diplomats, all talking at once. "We must establish exclusive trade rights immediately," insisted a floating crystal being. "My government will pay any price for a steady supply," said a four-eyed diplomat with green fur. The ship's secure communication channel buzzed. It was Earth's Central Command, already receiving messages from alien governments about the miracle food. As Lisa tried to manage the situation, a tall, elegant alien in a flowing silver robe approached her. Unlike the others, this one seemed calm, calculated. "Commander Bell," it said, its voice like silk. "I represent the Galactic Trade Consortium. We wish to purchase your entire food supply. Name your price." Lisa felt overwhelmed. What had started as a simple diplomatic dinner had turned into something much bigger. She needed time to think. "Dr. Morris?" she called across the room. "We need to understand what's happening here before we make any agreements." Morris nodded, already working with the ship's computer to analyze the ingredients in Kevin's recipes. In the kitchen, Kevin was being treated like a celebrity. Alien diplomats watched in awe as he prepared more batches of chips, asking questions about every step of the process. "It's just potatoes, oil, and salt," he explained, bewildered by the attention. "And the dip is just processed cheese with some spices." But to the aliens, it was much more than that. By morning, human junk food was the most discussed topic on the station. News traveled fast through the galaxy's communication networks. Earth's position in the galactic community had changed overnight. Lisa sat in her quarters, reading reports and messages that poured in. What was it about these simple foods that affected alien biology so profoundly? And how would this change humanity's place in the stars? Dr. Morris knocked on her door, his face serious. "Commander, we have a situation," he said. "I've been analyzing the food and alien tissue samples all night. The preservatives and artificial flavors in our junk food are creating drug-like compounds in alien digestive systems, different for each species but all powerful." Lisa took a deep breath. Earth's most valuable export was going to be potato chips and cheese dip. The universe had a strange sense of humor. "Get me Chef Peters," she said, "and call Earth. We need to talk about production scaling." Outside her window, ships were already changing course, heading toward Earth, all because of human junk food. 2 weeks after the discovery at the Galactic Trade Summit, the Earthrise remained docked at Harmonia Station. The ship had become the center of intense galactic attention. Commander Lisa Bell had turned the largest cargo bay into a makeshift conference room where she now sat with Dr. Alan Morris and the newly arrived Dr. Samantha Wright, Earth's leading nutritional biochemist. "The situation is growing more complex by the hour," Lisa said, rubbing her tired eyes. She hadn't slept properly since the night of the reception. Dr. Wright spread her data tablets across the table. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and quick movements. Earth's Central Command had rushed her to Harmonia on the fastest ship available. "Let me make sure I understand," Dr. Wright said. "Chef Peters made potato chips and cheese dip, and now half the galaxy is offering us trade deals?" "Doctor," Morris nodded. "It's the artificial ingredients. The preservatives, flavor enhancers, and colorings in our processed foods react with alien digestive systems in ways we never imagined." He showed her the results of his tests. On the screen, alien cells changed color and structure when exposed to various food compounds. "It's different for each species," he explained. "The Vesprians gain temporary telepathic abilities. The Moravians experience enhanced mathematical skills. The Pulsarians get heightened sensory perception." "And no harmful effects?" Dr. Wright asked, already taking notes. None that we've detected yet, Morris replied. The effects wear off after a few hours, but they keep coming back for more. Outside the conference room, Agent Paul Garcia paced the corridor. He had arrived 3 days ago with orders to establish security protocols for Earth's new resource. Tall and serious, with a constant frown, he took his job very seriously. Sir, a junior officer called to him. There's been another incident at the kitchen. Some aliens tried to sneak in. Garcia sighed. That's the 3rd time today. Double the guards. In the ship's kitchen, Chef Kevin Peters was working with a team of assistants sent from Earth. They were producing batches of various snacks to meet the overwhelming demand for samples and analysis. The cheese puffs affect the Arcturians like the potato chips affect the Vesprians, Kevin explained to an assistant. But the chocolate cookies do nothing for them. It's all about matching the right food to the right species. Kevin had never imagined that his cooking would become the focus of galactic diplomacy. He had always been just a chef who loved making people happy with food. Now his recipes were being treated like valuable formulas. On the commerce deck of Harmonia Station, Merchant Guild leader Krexval watched the humans with keen interest. The short, furry alien had already calculated the potential profits from controlling distribution of Earth foods. His species valued business above all else, and this was the opportunity of a lifetime. Krexval had set up a laboratory on his private ship. There, alien scientists were attempting to reverse engineer the human snacks. So far they had failed. Something about the exact manufacturing process remained elusive. Back in the conference room, Dr. Wright had reached a conclusion. These compounds are essentially performance-enhancing drugs for aliens, she said. But because they're food-based, they bypass all existing regulations. Lisa nodded. That's why every government and corporation wants exclusive rights. Earth has gone from being the new kid on the block to holding the most valuable resource overnight. A message alert sounded. It was from Earth's Central Command. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session, Lisa read aloud. They want us there with samples and data. As they prepared for the council meeting, Dr. Morris pulled Lisa aside. There's something else, he said quietly. I've detected signs of dependency in some of the aliens who've been consuming our food regularly. You mean addiction? Lisa asked, concerned. Not quite that serious yet, but the potential is there, Morris replied. We need to be careful about how we proceed. The Galactic Council chamber was a vast dome designed to accommodate representatives from all spacefaring civilizations. As the Earth delegation entered, Lisa felt every alien eye turn toward them. Ambassador Zortok met them at the entrance. The situation has escalated, he said. His scales had lost some of their luster since he had stopped consuming the cheese dip. Some delegations are suggesting that Earth is deliberately distributing addictive substances. That's ridiculous, Lisa protested. These are just our normal foods. Nevertheless, Zortok continued, there will be calls for Earth to share its production methods freely, as a matter of galactic health. Inside the chamber, the council leader, a luminescent being from one of the oldest civilizations, called for order. We gathered to address the matter of Earth food substances and their effects on various species, the leader announced. Representatives of Earth, please step forward. Lisa and Dr. Wright approached the central platform. As they presented their findings, murmurs spread through the chamber. Dr. Wright explained the science as simply as she could. The compounds in our processed foods were designed for human taste and preservation. We never anticipated they would affect other species this way. A tall, blue-skinned Moravian rose from his seat. My government offers 50-star cruisers and exclusive mining rights in 3 systems for exclusive access to these cheese puffs your scientist mentions. Before Lisa could respond, other representatives began shouting offers. The council leader silenced them with a gesture. This is not an auction. We must consider the broader implications. Meanwhile, back on the Earthrise, Agent Garcia's security team had caught someone trying to break into the food storage area. To his surprise, it wasn't an alien, but a human, a woman named Maria Ortiz, who claimed to be a journalist. The public has a right to know what's happening, she insisted as guards escorted her to a holding cell. Earth corporations are already planning to exploit this situation. When Garcia searched her belongings, he found credentials from 3 different news organizations and a data device with encrypted files. Something wasn't right. As the council meeting stretched into its 5th hour, Lisa received an urgent message from Garcia about the security breach. She excused herself briefly to call the ship. "Keep her contained until I return," Lisa ordered, "and increase security on the food production areas." When she returned to the council chamber, the atmosphere had changed. Representatives were huddled, in groups whispering. Ambassador Zortak approached with a grave expression. "A cargo ship left Earth 3 days ago carrying potato chip manufacturing equipment," he informed her. "It was hijacked in the Proxima sector. No survivors." Lisa felt a chill. What had started as an amusing diplomatic incident was turning deadly serious. "Commander," Dr. Wright called from across the room. "You need to see this." On her data tablet, market reports showed prices for Earth snacks soaring in underground trading networks. A black market had emerged almost overnight, with dealers charging fortunes for small packages of chips or cookies. As Lisa looked around the council chamber at the eager, sometimes desperate faces of the alien representatives, she realized that human junk food had become more than just a valuable resource. It had become a source of potential conflict. "Dr. Wright," she said quietly, "I think we've opened Pandora's box."
1 month after the discovery at Harmonia Station, Earth had transformed. Factories that once made potato chips and cheese puffs for supermarkets now operated under military protection. Lines of alien ships orbited the planet, waiting for permission
to land and purchase the galaxy's newest precious resource. Governor Nancy Miller stood at the window of her office in the United Earth Government Building, watching ships come and go. She had never expected to oversee Earth's sudden rise to galactic economic power. "The latest numbers are in," her assistant said, handing her a data tablet. "We've made more from junk food exports in the past month than from all other trade combined in the last year." Governor Miller nodded. "And the concerns Dr. Wright mentioned?" "Growing. 17 cases of alien addiction have been reported. 3 species show withdrawal symptoms when they can't get their favorite snacks." This worried Miller. Earth needed the trade benefits, but not at the cost of becoming the galaxy's drug dealer. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Frank Johnson commanded the defense fleet that now protected the planet's food shipments. His flagship, the UES Guardian, escorted cargo vessels through dangerous sectors. The hijacking near Proxima had been just the beginning. Now pirates and smugglers attacked regularly, hoping to steal even small crates of the valuable snacks. "Sir, we've got another distress call," his communications officer reported. "Cargo ship Liberty reports 3 unknown vessels approaching with weapons hot." Admiral Johnson frowned. "Send the Falcons. I want those attackers disabled, not destroyed. We need to find out who's behind these raids." Far from Earth, in a shadowy corner of the Orion Arm trading post, a hooded figure known as Xin Lao conducted business from a private booth. Once a minor smuggler, he had quickly positioned himself as the leading black market dealer in Earth food products. "Genuine potato chips made on Earth," he told his customer, a nervous Arcturian diplomat. "Not the fake stuff from Centauri knockoff factories." The diplomat paid an outrageous sum for a small package. Xin Lao smiled as he left. Business was good, but supply was becoming a problem. Earth had begun restricting exports and tracking shipments too carefully. He needed a new source. Back on the Earthrise, still docked at Harmonia, Commander Lisa Bell faced a crisis. Chef Kevin Peters had disappeared. When was he last seen? "She," asked Agent Garcia, who stood rigidly in her office. "Yesterday at 1800 hours. He went to meet with representatives from the Vesprian Food Ministry. Security cameras show him entering the meeting room, but he never came out." Lisa felt a cold knot in her stomach. "Search the station. Check all ships that departed in the last 12 hours. And get me Ambassador Zortak immediately." Dr. Alan Morris was working late in his lab when Lisa called him. "Kevin's missing," she said. "I need you to look at something." The station's atmosphere sensors picked up an unusual gas in the corridor near where he disappeared. Morris analyzed the data. "This is a sedative compound, specifically designed to work on human physiology. He looked up with concern. Someone planned this very carefully. When Ambassador Zortak arrived at Lisa's office, his scales were dull with stress. "I have spoken with my government," he said. "They deny any knowledge of Chef Peter's whereabouts, but there are rumors." "What rumors?" Lisa demanded. "The Craxian Empire. They've been unusually quiet during this whole situation. Some say they've established a research facility on one of their moons. The Craxians were a militaristic species known for their aggressive expansion. If they had taken Kevin to get his recipes and knowledge, Lisa made a decision. Dr. Morris and I will find Kevin. Agent Garcia will continue security here. Tell no one we're gone." On Earth, Dr. Samantha Wright was presenting her findings to an emergency session of the United Earth Government. "The effects are more serious than we initially thought," she explained to the assembled officials. "Long-term consumption of our processed foods causes lasting changes in alien brain chemistry. In some species, it enhances natural abilities. In others, it creates dependency." Governor Miller leaned forward. "Are we talking about an addictive substance or a performance enhancer?" "Both," Dr. Wright replied. "And neither. This is completely new territory." A message alert interrupted the meeting. The Galactic Council had just classified Earth junk food as a controlled substance, requiring special permits and monitoring for transport and sale. In another part of the government complex, corporate representatives from Earth's largest food manufacturers were meeting with lawyers. Profits had never been higher, and they had no intention of letting regulations slow them down. "We'll rebrand everything as medicinal food products," one executive suggested. "Double the price and limit supply to drive it higher." Unknown to them, Maria Ortiz, the woman caught trying to access the Earthrise, was listening. She wasn't actually a journalist, but an undercover operative working to expose corporate exploitation. She recorded the meeting secretly, gathering evidence of their plans. Commander Lisa Bell and Dr. Morris had borrowed a small scout ship from Harmonia Station. With Ambassador Zortak's help, they had coordinates for the suspected Craxian research facility. "This is crazy," Morris said, as they approached the Craxian moon. "We have no backup, no official sanction." "Kevin is one of ours," Lisa replied, focusing on piloting. "And if the Craxians are planning to weaponize our food somehow, we need to know." The moon was heavily guarded, but Zortak had provided them with outdated but still functional Craxian identification codes. They approached the dark side, where sensors were fewer. "Security is concentrated around that crater," Morris noted, checking the ship's scans. "That's where we need to go." They landed 2 miles from the facility and continued on foot, wearing environmental suits designed to mask their human life signs. The Craxian gravity was lighter than Earth's, making movement easier but less controlled. "There," Lisa whispered, pointing to a large dome partially built into the crater wall. "That's not standard Craxian architecture. That's new." They found an access point near a ventilation unit. Inside, the facility was bustling with activity. Craxian scientists moved between laboratories carrying samples and data tablets. Lisa and Morris moved carefully through maintenance corridors, following the layout Zortak had provided. According to his intelligence, if prisoners were being held, they would be in the lower levels. "Look," Morris said, pointing to a display screen on the wall. It showed Chef Kevin Peters in a laboratory working under guard. He appeared unharmed but tired. They watched as a tall Craxian military officer entered the lab. Even without understanding the language, they could tell from his bearing that he was in charge. "That's General Zexmore," Lisa said, recognizing him from intelligence briefings. "He commands their 3rd Fleet." On the screen, they watched as Kevin reluctantly demonstrated cooking techniques. Behind him, Craxian scientists took notes and collected samples. "They're not just after the recipes," Morris realized. "They're studying his techniques, the exact process." An alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Words flashed on all screens in Craxian language. "What's happening?" Lisa asked. Morris checked his translator. "Something about test subjects showing extreme reactions. A test went wrong. They needed to move fast now." As Craxians rushed toward an emergency, Lisa and Morris made their way toward Kevin's location. On Earth, the Galactic Council's decision was causing chaos. Prices skyrocketed. Protests formed outside Earth government buildings, some demanding free access to food products, others insisting they be banned entirely. Governor Miller faced a crisis of conscience. Earth was getting rich, but at what cost? Admiral Johnson's fleet engaged in daily skirmishes with smugglers and pirates. And somewhere in the galaxy, a chef from Earth was being forced to create what might become a weapon. The simple junk food that humans had enjoyed for centuries had become the galaxy's most precious and dangerous resource. The alarms continued to blare throughout the Craxian research facility as Commander Lisa Bell and Dr. Alan Morris made their way toward the laboratory where they had seen Chef Kevin Peters. The corridors were chaos, with Craxian scientists and guards rushing in all directions. "We need disguises," Lisa whispered as they hid in a storage closet. They found some lab coats that were too large for their human frames but would have to do. "Remember, walk like you own the place," Lisa said, as they stepped back into the hallway, now dressed as Craxian scientists. They followed the signs toward the main laboratory. Most Craxians were too busy with the emergency to notice them. When they finally reached the lab door, it was locked with a security pad. "Can you bypass it?" Lisa asked. Morris studied the panel. "No need." He pointed to the emergency protocols, displayed on a nearby screen. "During facility-wide alarms, all research subjects are moved to secure Area B7. They followed the evacuation route markers, moving against the flow of panicked Craxian staff. Area B7 was a reinforced section deep in the facility's lower levels. 2 guards stood at the entrance. Lisa nodded to Morris, and they both hunched their shoulders, trying to look more Craxian as they approached. "Research Team Echo," Morris said, in his best attempt at a Craxian accent. "We need to check on the human subject." The guards looked suspicious. "Authorization code." Before Morris could answer, a massive explosion rocked the facility. The lights flickered and went out, replaced seconds later by dim emergency lighting. The guards turned toward the source of the explosion, and Lisa seized the moment. With 2 quick strikes, she knocked them unconscious. "That wasn't part of the plan," Morris said as they dragged the guards into a side room. "I don't think that explosion was either," Lisa replied. "Someone else is here." They found Kevin in a small cell. He looked up in shock when they entered. "Commander? Dr. Morris, how did you—" "No time," Lisa cut him off. "We need to move now." Kevin stood shakily. "They've been making me cook nonstop, testing different recipes on alien subjects. It's horrible." As they helped Kevin out of the cell, they heard shouting from nearby corridors. "What's happening here?" Lisa asked as they moved quickly toward the emergency exit route. "General Zexmore has been experimenting with concentrated forms of the compounds found in Earth food," Kevin explained between heavy breaths. "They were testing a new batch when something went wrong. One of the test subjects had a severe reaction." Morris looked grim. "They're weaponizing the food." They reached a junction where the corridor split. Behind them, they could hear Craxian security teams approaching. "This way," Kevin pointed to the left passage. "There's a hangar with scout ships. I saw it when they brought me in." As they ran, Lisa's communicator vibrated. It was a message from Earth. She read it quickly as they moved. "The situation is getting worse," she told the others. "Food addiction cases are rising. There have been riots at distribution centers, and Earth corporations are making a fortune while claiming they can't control how their products are used." The hangar was ahead, its large doors partially open. They could see ships inside, some being loaded with cargo. "We need to get closer to see what they're doing," Morris said. They crept to an observation point behind some cargo containers. Inside the hangar, Craxian workers were loading crates labeled with hazard symbols onto ships. "Those are the concentrated compounds," Kevin whispered. "General Zexmore plans to distribute them to targeted planets. Once the population is addicted, the Craxian Empire can control them by controlling the supply." Lisa took out her small camera and began documenting everything. We need evidence to take back to the Galactic Council. A sudden movement caught her eye. On the other side of the hangar, a figure in dark clothing was also watching the loading operation. The figure turned and Lisa caught a glimpse of the face. "That's Maria Ortiz," she whispered in surprise. "The woman Agent Garcia detained on Harmonia. What is she doing here?" Before they could consider this new development, General Zexmore himself entered the hangar, surrounded by guards. The tall Craxian military leader was shouting orders, clearly furious about the explosion and security breach. "We need to move now," Lisa said. "If they seal the hangar, we're trapped." They waited until the general moved to inspect one of the ships, then slipped from their hiding place toward a small scout vessel near the hangar entrance. "Can you fly one of these?" Lisa asked Kevin. "I'm a chef, not a pilot," he replied. "I can," Morris said. "Basic controls are similar to our research vessels." They had almost reached the ship when a shout went up. They had been spotted. "Run," Lisa ordered. They sprinted for the scout ship as Craxian guards opened fire. Energy blasts hit the ground around them as Morris reached the ship first and slammed his hand on the access panel. The door slid open. "Get in," he shouted. Kevin stumbled. As he reached the ramp, Lisa pulled him up and pushed him inside as a blast grazed her shoulder. She cried out in pain but managed to get inside before the door closed. Morris was already at the controls, powering up the engines. "I don't know the launch codes," he said frantically. Kevin pointed to a panel. "Use this. I watched them when they brought me in. Emergency override." Morris activated the sequence and the ship's engines roared to life. The hangar doors were closing, but they had just enough space to shoot through the narrowing gap. "Hold on," Morris shouted as he pushed the ship to full power. They scraped through the doors with inches to spare and shot into the dark sky of the Craxian moon. Behind them, alert signals blared as the facility mobilized defenses. "We need to get into FTL before they scramble fighters," Lisa said, holding her injured shoulder. As Morris prepared the faster-than-light drive, Kevin looked back at the facility through the viewport. "I saw horrible things in there," he said quietly. "They tested those compounds on prisoners. Some had violent reactions, others became completely dependent after just one dose." Lisa squeezed his shoulder with her good hand. "That's why we need to get this evidence back to Earth and the Galactic Council." The ship shuddered as something hit them. Warning lights flashed across the control panel. "Craxian defense cannons," Morris reported. "Targeting systems active. We have maybe 30 seconds before they lock on properly." Lisa moved to the communication system. "Sending emergency distress call on all frequencies. Maybe someone will hear us." The ship rocked again as another blast grazed them. The engines sputtered. "FTL is down," Morris said, his voice tense. "We need another plan." Just as the situation seemed hopeless, 3 ships appeared from behind the moon's horizon. They were Earth vessels, led by the UES Guardian. "This is Admiral Johnson of Earth Defense Fleet," a voice came through the communicator. "Identify yourselves." "Commander Lisa Bell of the Earthrise with Dr. Morris and Chef Peters. We've rescued our crewmen and have evidence of Craxian weapons. Development? Copy that, Commander. Get behind us. We'll cover your escape." As the Earth ships engaged the Craxian defenses, Morris piloted their damaged scout ship toward the safety of the fleet. Behind them, explosions lit up the moon's surface as the facility's weapons were destroyed. "How did they find us?" Kevin asked in amazement. Lisa smiled despite her pain. "I activated my emergency beacon when we landed. Standard procedure." The small scout ship limped into the UES Guardian's hangar bay. As medical teams rushed to meet them, Lisa clutched the evidence they had gathered. The galaxy needed to know the truth about what was happening, not just about the Craxian plans, but about the human corporations profiting from what was becoming an epidemic of addiction. The junk food crisis had just entered a new and dangerous phase. 2 days after their escape from the Craxian moon, Commander Lisa Bell sat in a crowded meeting room at Earth's Central Command. Her shoulder was still bandaged from the energy blast, but she refused to miss this crucial gathering. Around the table sat Earth's most powerful leaders, including Governor Nancy Miller, Admiral Frank Johnson, and Senator Diane Cooper, who led Earth's new coalition for responsible trade. The evidence is clear, Lisa said, playing the recordings from the Craxian facility. General Zexmore was concentrating compounds from our food products to create addictive substances. They planned to distribute these to control other species. The images showed Craxian scientists extracting and processing the active ingredients from various Earth snacks. Other footage revealed test subjects experiencing powerful reactions, some beneficial, others harmful. This changes everything, Senator, Cooper said. We can no longer treat this as just a trade opportunity. Outside the building, protesters filled the streets. Some demanded free access to Earth food for all species as a basic right. Others called for a complete ban on exports until safety could be guaranteed. The galaxy was divided, and Earth stood at the center of the storm. In another part of the building, Chef Kevin Peters was reunited with an old friend, Chef Greg Martinez, who had studied under him years ago before working in research kitchens. Greg had been called in by Dr. Samantha Wright to help find a solution. I've been looking at your original recipes, Greg told Kevin. I think we can modify them to provide the beneficial effects without the addictive properties. Kevin nodded slowly. The dark circles under his eyes showed how the ordeal had affected him. The Craxians forced me to create concentrated versions. I never meant for my food to hurt anyone. It's not your fault, Greg assured him, but now we can make it right. In the main laboratory, Dr. Wright and Dr. Morris worked with a team of scientists, including representatives from affected alien species. Ambassador Krell, whose people had suffered some of the worst addiction cases, had volunteered to assist with testing. The key is breaking down this molecular chain, Dr. Wright explained, pointing to a complex diagram. It creates the pleasurable effect without triggering the dependency response. Ambassador Krell's tentacles moved delicately over the samples. My people value honesty above all. Earth has been honest about this crisis. That is why I am here to help. The door opened, and Maria Ortiz was escorted in by Agent Garcia. After being discovered on the Craxian moon, she had finally revealed her true purpose. She worked for an interplanetary watchdog organization tracking corporate abuses. The data I collected proves that Earth corporations knew about the addictive properties 3 weeks ago, she explained. They continued shipping product while hiding the research. Dr. Morris looked troubled. That explains why our warnings were ignored. In the meeting room, the evidence from both Lisa's mission and Maria's investigation had created a somber mood. Senator Cooper stood to address the group. We face a choice, she said. We can continue to profit from products we know are harmful, or we can take responsibility and lead the galaxy in finding a safer path forward. Governor Miller nodded. The short-term economic impact of restricting sales will be significant, but the long-term cost of continuing down this path would be far worse. They agreed to establish the Interstellar Food Safety Commission, with representatives from all affected species. Earth would share its research and work toward creating modified recipes that provided benefits without risks. 3 weeks later, Chef Kevin stood in a newly built kitchen laboratory on Harmonia Station. Around him, Chef Greg and a team of food scientists from multiple worlds worked on new formulations. The kitchen had become a place of healing for Kevin after his captivity. Try this version, Kevin said to Ambassador Zortak, offering a modified cheese puff. The Vesprian diplomat cautiously tasted it. After a moment, his scales began to shimmer slightly, a much milder effect than before. The telepathic enhancement is gentler, Zortak said. More controlled. And I don't feel the craving for more that came with the original. Kevin smiled for the first time in weeks. That's what we were hoping for. In another section of the station, Dr. Wright and Ambassador Krell unveiled a treatment program for those suffering from withdrawal. Using modified compounds and carefully planned reductions, they had found a way to wean addicted individuals off the food products safely. Recovery is possible, Ambassador Krell announced to a room full of medical professionals from across the galaxy. My own people are proof of this. His formerly dull skin now glowed with renewed health. On Earth, Senator Cooper faced the business, leaders whose companies had profited most from the crisis. The meeting was tense. The new regulations are non-negotiable, she informed them. All exports will be tested and certified. Any attempt to circumvent these rules will result in permanent loss of trade licenses. Some executives protested, but most knew that public opinion had turned against them after Maria Ortiz's evidence was released. They had no choice but to comply. 6 months after junk food had first caused a sensation at the Galactic Trade Summit, Commander Lisa Bell stood on the bridge of the Earthrise. The ship had been recommissioned for a new mission, leading a pine, goodwill tour of Earth food ambassadors throughout the galaxy. Course laid in for the Moravian homeworld, her navigator reported. Lisa nodded. Proceed at standard speed. In the ship's main hold, a special exhibition had been created. It showcased Earth's culinary history, from ancient cooking methods to modern food science. Chef Kevin and Chef Greg had designed demonstrations of safe, modified versions of popular snacks tailored for different species. Dr. Morris joined Lisa on the bridge. Dr. Wright's latest report just came in. Addiction cases are down 70%. The new formulations are working. Lisa smiled. Who would have thought that potato chips and cheese dip would change galactic history? As the Earthrise moved away from Space Station Harmonia, ships from other worlds formed an honor escort. What had begun as a potential disaster had transformed into an opportunity for greater understanding between species. In his kitchen laboratory, Kevin worked on a new creation. He had combined Earth cooking techniques with alien ingredients to create something truly unique, the first truly interspecies cuisine. Food has always brought people together, he told his assistant, as he put the finishing touches on a dish that humans and 3 other species could safely enjoy together. Now it's bringing whole worlds together. The galaxy had been changed forever by human junk food. What began as a crisis had evolved into a cultural renaissance as species learned to share not just commerce, but traditions. Humans, the newcomers with their odd processed snacks, had found their unique place in the greater community of worlds. And somewhere, on a distant trading post, the once powerful black market dealer Xin Lao found himself out of business, holding worthless stockpiles of original formula snacks that no one wanted anymore. The new certified versions were better, safer, and legally available throughout the galaxy. Earth had turned a potential disaster into its greatest diplomatic triumph. All because of junk food.